The views and opinions on the Craig L. Hayes Show do not necessarily reflect those of Westgate Resorts ownership or management. And now, on with the show.
This is the Craig L. Hayes Show.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Craig L. Hayes Show. For episode 2 with Forestt Hancock, we're going to continue talking about his experiences within show business and all the years. He started about 11 years before I started in show business as far as a stagehand. And we are still here in Elvis Presley's dressing room. Right next door to us is Barry Manilow's dressing room. And here at the Westgate Resort. And thank you again, Cammie Christensen, Don Rawl, and John Peer for letting us have this show here and talk about show business. So we're back with you, Forestt. Why don't we continue on? So we left off at Casino de Paris, building sets and doing things and stuff. So why don't we continue from there?
Yeah, I worked there for 11 years, and I met my wife there. She was a dancer in the show, and we've been married for, well, next year it'll be 50 years. That's
Wow.
a long time.
Good for you guys. That's kind of rare in the stagehand life.
That's a long time, yeah.
Yeah.
But it all worked out great, and it was just like a party every night. For 11 years, it was just the best. And it was such a wonderful time. And the size of the show, I mean, I don't think that room held over, I don't think it held many over 400, maybe 450. And it was tremendous for that size of room. And there must have been, 17 musicians, probably a cast of probably in the neighborhood of 50. And then stage crew, probably there was four electricians, 4 spotlights, a couple electricians backstage, probably, I don't know, seemed like about 12 guys backstage. So it was a good-sized crew. To put on a show for 400 people was quite a thing, and that's back in the day where the hotels spent the money to get people to come into the show. I mean, they didn't expect to make money out of the show. It was a draw to get people.
Yeah. Make them walk through the casino.
Exactly.
It was simple.
They used to say, well, it was a kind of a fashion show for the ladies to see where the men gambled. I don't know how true that was, but that was one of the stories. So but it was wonderful, and the experience of working with dancers and show people from all over the world was really a unique thing and a wonderful thing. It was, again, it was just the best. And I did that for 11 years, and then that show closed. And I can remember the producer of the show. One day, I happened to be talking to him because my partner and I, that we had a business, and we made films, and we would record the show, and we made commercials for the show. So I got to know the producer, and we're in his office, and he looked at me and he said, these new people, they want me to pay them to put on my show. And I said, really? And he goes, yeah, that's what's going on. That's the new thing. Where show business has to pay for itself. And up until those times, the hotel owners would pay money to have entertainment. And it was a change, and that change went all through the business. I mean, it changed everything. And it got a little more serious on the work, It wasn't quite the party that it was before. And there were about 4 walls where basically whoever produces a show has all the responsibilities of paying the performers and the stagehands, and it suddenly got a little more serious as far as making a living. But it was good. I mean, we progressed with the times and made it work. And from there, I went down to the Sahara and worked there for probably 4 or 5 months. That would have been something like 82, 83. And that was fun to work in there. That was when
Was that in the Congo room?
that was the Congo room, and I can't. I worked Don Rickles' show there. I got to swing the sound console because I knew the show on a spotlight, so it wasn't a big transition for me to go down and run the sound. So I managed to do that, and
You were able to get Dick Keller off his console?
Dick Keller, he asked me if I wanted it, and I was like, yeah, I'll go down and do that, sure.
What a great guy.
He was quite a nice fellow,
Yeah.
yeah. And I worked with Ricky and Fred Joseph in the light
Up
booth.
in the lights, yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. And I think about that time, I think it was the Paul Loudon bought the Sahara, I think it was. I think that was the way it worked. And one day, Don Rux was I think the technical director, and he came into the booth and he said, "Who wants to go to the Hacienda?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm ready." And the Hacienda had, at that time, an ice show that was running. And production shows worked for me personally because I had a small business that I did sound work for motion pictures, and I had a little company, and my business partner, Burl Kinney, and we always worked at night, but we had our business in the daytime. And production shows, a lot of people thought it was boring, but I looked forward to it because it was after working really hard in the daytime, it was neat to go in to work a show that you could practically do in your sleep.
Yeah, and see, this is what I've been telling people. Forrest is another guy that has 2 jobs. I don't know any stagehands back in, I call it the early days from when I was a youngster in it and stuff like that. Everybody had 2 jobs. You
Yeah.
did your night job, and productions were great because your schedule was set. You knew you went in at this time, you're leaving at this time, so you could work a whole bunch of different jobs and stuff in between all of that.
Oh, yeah.
And every stagehand I know did just that.
Yeah. Oh, there were guys that had real estate companies. I mean, there were people just doing all kinds of different things in business, but their bedrock would be, making your 12 shows a week, and it was. I think it worked out for me being a pretty good thing because I had the company. But and we made good money at the time, but the pension that I ended up with through the local was such a great thing, and I appreciate that so much now, and how important that is. And if I'm talking to any young people, you want to be ready for retirement when you get to be a certain age,
Yes.
and don't expect Social Security to be enough for you to live comfortably on. You're going to probably need more than that to survive, and that's something that most young people don't think about until they get to be about 40, and then they start wondering, oh, gee, what's going to happen to me when I'm 60 or 65 or 70,
Yeah, and all they have to look forward to is making, $2,000 on Social Security. You can't hardly make it $2,000 a week anymore.
Exactly.
So you have to have plan Bs and Cs and everything else going on. I get you.
Oh, yeah.
And that is the thing about, there's always this talk about pro-union stagehands and non-union stagehands. Well, I'll tell you right now, quality of work and such, I think the union guys are better qualified. You get a higher quality. That may be my bias, but at the same time, let's look at the benefit package. They all others say, well, you get a 401k if you go do the non-union, stuff like that. Well, I'm sorry. The pensions are so much better to have in your back pocket, along with your Social Security, and
Exactly.
and now we're getting into the annuity stuff here.
Right.
So you can have 3 different retirements if you're smart and keep putting money into all this stuff. So
Sure.
Yeah.
But I also think investing, well, Las Vegas has always been a good place to invest in land. And it, it, I, I had several parcels that I bought over the years, and that's also helped with the retirement, with the,
so parcels, huh?
well,
That's
yeah,
pretty big sections there.
we're talking about acres, maybe one and a half acres.
Oh, okay.
And one thing I got into was up on Blue Diamond, and that's the road, the old Spanish Trail, I believe. We owned a three acre home site, and we would get into projects where we would, several of us would get in on it and then hold it for a while and sell it. And I did that one, and I did one with my business partner. We bought one down on Jones in Charleston, and that worked out pretty well. We ended up putting a billboard on the property, and we recently sold a billboard, and we made a nice little profit. That was very nice.
Well, good for you, man.
Yeah.
I know several stagehands that did that. They would go out and buy these sections, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
huge. That's a huge chunk of land.
Right.
Out at the south end of town, away from everybody, and people
Sure.
would look at them like they were crazy.
Yeah. No,
Well, in the '80s and stuff, when they started selling them in the '90s,
right.
they got the last laugh.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to pay those taxes, the property taxes, which can eat into your profits, but it worked for us, and I would always encourage young folks to invest in, a rental or something that can gain in value over the years, and rentals are great. I had one rental I had for 19 years. I don't think I ever had one good tenant, but they paid for the mortgage, and it was good to have that. And for a working person to accumulate any wealth, it helps to buy something that it gains in value.
Yep.
Anyway.
Not just stick it in the bank. I mean, it's good to have some savings, but at the same time, you're getting what, 0.1% interest, or point or
Right.
0.5
For
or
a long
whatever.
time.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're not getting anything.
No.
And when inflation's going up, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12%,
Yeah.
you're losing 11%,
Sure.
on your money. So yeah,
Yeah.
like you say, get an
I hate to
investment.
be a financial show, but
No, but these kids need to hear it. Well, I shouldn't say kids. These people coming up and stuff like that should hear that, yes, we make great money. As stagehands, we make phenomenal money. I think we're one of the highest paid trades in Las Vegas. But if you're just going to blow it all and just party and have a good time, well, okay, you've lived the rock and roll showbiz lifestyle, but you're going to regret it later.
right. And I tell you what, I worked with some people, like at the Dunes. There were some fellas in there that would basically push the scenery around, and they actually did that for many years, as I did. And when that show closed, some of them, that was it for them. They didn't go on to do anything else. They'd learned that set of cues and hadn't really worked at any other skill sets. And that was not a good thing.
No, there are a few guys that do that too. Like I know some of the guys that worked over at the Bally's, used to be MGM. They did Jubilee for 35 years,
Yeah.
and they just, like you said, the same track, the same set of cues,
Right.
for that whole time, and that's all they did.
Yeah. And some of them, that's it. They didn't do anything extra. And some of them have like 35 years in, which is great, and they've got a nice pension. So thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
But they didn't do anything else to increase their skill level or improve themselves.
Yeah, and that's a kind of a shame, especially as many things you can get into in this local, and go and get the second job like all of us guys that were eager to go, expand your knowledge, expand your experiences and stuff. No,
Right.
it's too bad,
Exactly.
So Hacienda, what show was it? The Hacienda, the
Well,
ice
it
show?
was Fire on Ice, I think was the name.
Fire on Ice. Okay, I remember that one
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. and that was a lot of fun.
As I remember, that stage was tiny.
Oh yeah, it was like it'd be like a lounge.
Yeah.
You know, I think
Well, the whole hotel was small.
well, it was a beautiful little place.
Yeah.
But for me, I liked a smaller crew. I only had me, and I think when we started, there was 2 spotlights and a light board operator, and that's all I had to be responsible for. And that's what it's set up for me. That working that production show at night, you want it as simple as possible, and no drama with the crew or the guys you're working with. You know, you want everybody to work pleasantly with each other, and don't bring any problems in on the work site. And it worked out great. It was always good for me there.
Yeah, and that always works better when you do have a smaller crew too. You know,
Right.
so many fewer problems when you have a crew of 5, 6, 7 guys at the most.
Really,
It seems like you cross that threshold of somewhere around 15 to 20, and then all of a sudden the personality conflicts and everything else starts. You know.
really, yeah.
And
Keeping it simple
yeah, yeah.
is my theory on most things. And when you work on a stage, you want everybody to get along. And I think we work. I'm going to get off just here on a little subject, but working with others, not a lot of crafts, or like if you're a carpenter or something like that, a regular, not a stage carpenter, but a regular woodworker or something, or frame houses or something. You don't really have the crew to work with like we do, and I don't know too many businesses that would have that same type of where everybody's job is important, and you're working on a show, and everybody needs to be on time and to do things on time, and working with a crew is a wonderful thing. I think, to work around other humans and have that camaraderie that you have when you're working on a show. And in my retirement years, I've kind of, well, it's not just me, but I've been trying to work with retired guys and get them to hang out one day a week with each other, just to tell stories, and I think it's really good for everybody's psyche and mental stability to have someone to talk to that you can relate to.
So, are you the one that started the Tap House get together?
I didn't start it. A fellow named George Hiroki he and Gordon Coker kind of started this, like I think back in the 90s. And
Oh, it's been going that long. Okay.
oh yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought it was just something started in the last, few years or something.
No, it's been going on for quite a while, and we still meet at the Tap House on Wednesdays at about 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And
Been there a couple of times. It's good fun, I'll tell you. Talking to everybody about the shows you've done and stuff, and
right,
that's what we're doing here.
yeah,
But we're recording it so we can pass it on to people. That's the purpose
Sure.
of this show. It's
exactly,
so people can understand what we do and
right.
what we did. Because I'm retired too, so I'm in the old guys tap house time too. So
That's nothing wrong with that.
no, I look around at the guys that are there, and I was like, I'm working with some of the guys that have been in this business so long and done so many things here, and then I go, wait, I guess that's me too now. So, it's awesome being there and getting to hang out with everybody, and and
Yeah, I really enjoy that. But back to the hacienda, I think I even wrote down a couple of the things I did, and because I'm going to have to look at my notes.
oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
Always bring notes or something if
yeah.
you want to, just
Yeah.
to touch base and remember what you're doing. And
Well, I got to light a show for Andy Gibb there,
all right,
and that was a lot of fun. And I lit a show for Freddie Fender, and I did a play called Norman, Is That You, with Sherman Hemsley.
I remember that one. Yeah, I never saw
And,
it, but I remember seeing the marquee and it's saying that and the advertisements about it.
And the things I remember, I ran lights on it for a year, and I had 12 cues. And usually on a production show, you've got hundreds of cues.
Oh, yeah.
And this show, I had 12 cues. And for an electrician, you want a lot of cues to stay awake.
Yeah.
You know, and running a regular play, I had, and I stayed up on it, and never in a year of the production, I never made one mistake where I lost where I lost a cue, and so that was my big claim to fame doing that. Norman, is that you? And then around 91, Lance Burton came over, and we put that show together. And I never really lit a magic show, and it was a whole new thing.
Very critical lighting.
Yeah, everything is very, very precise, and
Everything on their spike marks and the lights having not been bumped or moved, and you know, because one thing just a touch off
Tiny thing.
gives it away.
exactly.
The lighting shows you what you're supposed to see and not what's going on around it. You know,
Right.
highly critical.
Yeah. And that was it was great working with Lance. Lance was always a great person to work with, and one of the funny things is usually with most acts, if you make a mistake, they're usually on you pretty fast.
Like
you know?
Siegfried and Roy.
Yeah, they're usually on your back pretty quick. Like, why did you do that? Lance was so cool because you could maybe make a change, maybe do something a little late. He would never say anything unless you did it twice. If you did it twice in 2 shows in a row, he would like stop you going out the door, like, you know, there's one place in the show where you, and he would be so neat because you know, usually one little bobble, man, they're on you like,
Yeah.
you know, like
Who do
mad.
excuse?
And he would be so cool. He'd be like, you know, in this one place, did you know, and I'd be like, no, that was a mistake. We won't do that again. You know, so
Yeah.
he was a great gentleman to work with.
Yeah, everybody I've talked to say the same thing. You know, David Kist and Rico Grippo and all these guys all say he was just incredible to work with. He's a real human being.
Yeah,
You know, he's
very,
just
very
very much
good.
a human being. And yes, there are egos in show business. I know it's hard for the audience to realize that, but you know, no, some of these performers have real egos and temperamental.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I try to tell people, and I've worked with doing commercials, film production, that a lot of times the personalities you may meet, you're not seeing the real person. You're seeing an act.
Yeah.
And they can be so much different when the camera turns off. Their real personality comes out, and people aren't really a lot of times the way they seem on whatever show you're watching.
No, they can be quite a bit different. Well, Forrest, that's the end of episode number 2, and we're going to move on in just a minute to episode 3. Until then, Talbot, take it away.
This is the Craig L. Hayes Show.